All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Teacher Nivs, Dr. Joe's Reading Writing class. Today is December 11th, 2025. If you can hear me clearly, can I get a 62 in the chat? Actually, if you can hear me clearly, can I get a 67 in the chat? All right, Ethan, Austin, can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me clearly, can I get a 6-7 in the chat? Okay. Everyone's done with all the numbers. Okay, let's get started. We're gonna do a slightly different order. We're gonna do the book and author, then we're gonna jump to vocab words and then go back to quote because I don't have a quote for this specific author. So, Ignis, book of the day. Can I get a volunteer reader? Let's go with Austin. Austin, can you read this for us? Okay, maybe Austin is AFK. Let's do Russell. Russell, can you read this for us?
Ignis, Hasio Ferreira, an epic space opera adventure that will spin the imagination of fans of strange alien societies, pyrokinetic mutants, and chess. The settlers of planet Ignis are barely making it. The inhospitable environment is an unforgiving enemy. They have only lasted this long by working together and sacrificing their lifespan for the greater good. Panic sets in when one of their settlements suddenly goes dark. Dealing with whatever is hunting them while surviving the harsh conditions seems beyond the stranded spacefarers. In these dark times, a prodigy is born. If nurtured, Ellie is a fragile ember that will become a blazing fire that can burn the ancient evil away. Ellie must give his all in the Collegium and master his mutation to save everything he loves. Follow Ellie's journey as he works shoulder to shoulder with the legendary teacher Chowther and with the reds, oranges, yellows, and the blue king of the Fahrenheit tribe. Will Ellie rise to become the hero his settlement needs him to be? Will he have the determination and courage that his fellow men require from him? Will he banish the ancient evil that threatens their fragile existence? Planet Ignis brings you a standalone novel that mixes science fiction and fantasy. This dystopian novel with chess game lit elements will be the perfect match for fans of Ender's Game, Red Rising, or Star Wars. Read along if you like chess, tribal societies, superpowers, and clever characters. This novel is appropriate for readers of all ages.
Awesome. Thanks for reading that, Russell. Um, who here knows what dystopian means? We've covered it before in other books. Russell put a thumbs up. Do you want to quickly describe it?
Um, I think it's it's like imaginary and it's like a society that is like failing or uh like suffering, like gloomy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those are all characteristics of dystopian worlds, yeah. But just generally, yeah, it's just sort of the opposite of a utopia. So utopia is an ideal place to be, place to live, world to live in. Um, and a dystopia or dystopian society is the exact opposite, right? So a lot of dystopians are revolve around like the current world, but after like a nuclear war or something like that, or when global warming goes to its extremes. Um, awesome. Okay, let's move on to the author of said book, Cassio Ferreira. Can I get a volunteer reader? Let's do James. James.
Pasio Fiera is a contemporary contemporary science fiction and fantasy author, best known for writing clean, imaginative fiction, often blending elements of sci-fi, lit RPG and wholesome adventure good reads. Originally interested in robotics, Vera's passion for language and storytelling led him into writing and teaching, ultimately shaping his career as a novelist and interpreter. He has published multiple novels and series, including the Hidden Class, Pacifist and Hidden Class, Handyman series, with titles such as Greenwood, Antioch, and The Union. His work is often released online before moving to wild platforms like Amazon. Vera's writing is influenced by classic and modern science fiction authors, and outside of writing, he enjoys spending time with his wife and his cat Ollie, two key inspirations behind his creative work.
Awesome. Thanks for reading that, James. Um, what does contemporary mean in this context? Actually, let's start with what does contemporary mean in general? Can I get Annabelle? I saw you just joined. Do you have any do you have a guess on what contemporary means?
Uh,
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's totally fine. Um, any other guesses? Ethan, do you have a guess?
No, I don't know what that means either.
That's totally fine. Okay, so generally speaking, contemporary means current times, right? So sometimes you'll hear about contemporary literature. So it's literature, but for books written more recently or about the current times, right? So when someone says I read books, but I read more contemporary books, it means books written about current times right now. This one is weird specifically because it says contemporary science fiction. Um, and science fiction is usually about the future. Contemporary is a little bit contrasting there, but in this case, what it means is um, science fiction about, technology and things like that that um, is mixed in with our current world and whatnot. So a contemporary science fiction idea might be something like in 2030, someone invents AI robots and everyone has an AI assistant, AI robot assistant, and a story about that. So it's still sort of related to current times. It's not that futuristic. It'll probably blend in a lot of like things in current times, but also include that, technological science fiction aspect. Um, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna skip quote of the day for a bit, and we're gonna move on to the vocab, um, and then we'll jump back. So, can I get a volunteer reader for this? I think Austin was AFK. Let's do Annabelle. Annabelle, can you read the words for us? Can actually increase the size.
Obstreperous adjective, noisy, unruly, difficult to control. The once quiet crowd became obstreperous as the debate intensified. Propinquity, noun, nearness in place, time, or relationship. Their desk's propinquity spiked a friendship neither expected. Acerbic, adjective, sharply witty, biting, or sour in tone. Her acerbic humor made interviews both funny and slightly intimidating. Internecine, adjective, mutually destructive, relating to conflict within a group. The party fractured after months of internecine disputes. Tenebrous, adjective, dark, shadowy, obscure. The tenebrous hallway made every footstep feel uncertain.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, thanks for reading that, Annabelle. Let's. Do you guys know the drill? 3 minutes. To submit one paragraph or one challenging sentence with all the words. Okay, 3 minutes starting the timer now. All right. Time is up. Let's see what you guys came up with.
Wait, I'm not done.
Okay. I put
I'm almost
the
all.
I put the words in the chat, so you guys still have access to them. But I do want to move forward. So in a minute or so, just submit what you have, even if it's not done. Okay, Annabelle, start us off.
In the tenebrous room, the close propinquity of the two obstreperous kids led to an internecine fight filled with acerbic comments.
Internecine fight filled with acerbic comments. Nice. Nice, very good. So you don't, if you're gonna use propinquity, you don't need to add the word close here. Sort of redundant. So you could just get rid of that there. And that works as well. Good stuff. All right, let's go to Bob. Sorry, not Bob, Russell. He just uses the character Bob in all his
He
excerpts.
didn't use George this time, but Bob must always remain.
Okay, yes, it's always George and Bob.
Bob is the main character. The acerbic Bob was obstreperous even when his friends' desks weren't in propinquity, and the friends had to be tenebrous and internecine to him to get him to stop talking, to 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 delete the theme and the and, to avoid trouble with the teacher
Sorry, to delete the theme. Oh,
and the and. I think I don't know. Autocorrect.
nice. Okay, nice. Even when the census weren't in Brooklyn and friends. So the only thing is this apostrophe should get removed. It's not needed. If you were talking about like something that the desks own in a sense, so like the desk's location, then you could use the apostrophe there to show possession, but otherwise, no, it's not needed. And the friends had to be tenebrous and internecine to him to get him to stop talking to avoid trouble with the teacher. Okay, obviously for this activity, we're trying to fit in a lot of words into one sentence, but if this was another type of activity, we would there's a lot going on here. We would definitely try and break this up. Okay, so let's go to Austin. Austin, keep us going, and then Ethan after.
The twins obstreperous arguing grew so acerbic that their propinquity made the fight feel almost internecine.
2, 3, 4. I feel like you're missing one. Which one are you missing? Okay, maybe not. Since strippers arguing grew so acerbic. Oh, tenebrous, right. Arguing grew so acerbic that they're propinquity. Okay, nice. Okay, that's fair. I mean, you obviously were missing tenebrous, but for what it's worth, this looked good. Okay, Ethan, would you like to read yours?
When Bob moved to a new neighborhood, he was lonely. But soon Bob found a friend named George who was obtreperous and tenebrous. Bob and George's houses propinquity started an internecine friendship. When they got in a lot of trouble, Bob's mom used an acerbic voice, which made them feel bad.
Awesome. So one thing here, just quick note is apostrophe. Right, this is Bob's mom. When Bob moved to New Zealand, but soon Bob found a friend. Uh, but soon Bob found a friend named George who was obstreperous and tenebrous. I would say it sounds a little bit awkward, but when we start with when Bob moved to his neighborhood, he was lonely, but soon Bob found a friend. We could just say when he moved to his neighborhood, he was lonely, but he quickly found a friend, right? Like we don't need to repeat this again. Um, just to make it sound a little less awkward here. Name George, who is obstreperous and tenebrous. Bob and George's houses. Pinkwitty started interest in friendship. Great, good stuff. Good stuff. Rest of that is fine. And you use all the words, good stuff. Let's keep it going. Let's go to, oh, where are we? Let's go to the quote of the day. So, quote of the day, sorry. Um, sorry again. Quote of the day is a quote by Ray Bradbury. We've talked about Fahrenheit 451 before. So I know you guys are all vaguely familiar, or I hope you're all vaguely familiar. This quote was just quite interesting. I couldn't find a quote from the author of today, so we're gonna stick with this. And this one is quite deep, if I do say so myself. So, um, let's get a volunteer reader. Let's get Ethan. Ethan, can you read the quote?
We need not to be let alone. We need to be really bothered once in a while. How long is it since you were really bothered about something important, about something real? Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury.
Awesome. Okay, so it's quite a interesting deep quote. Maybe not the easiest to understand right on your first read, but keep trying. And we'll see what you come up with, okay? So 5 minutes for that, starting now. Oh, I was muted. All right, Russell, start us off.
I think this quote means that the only way we can grow is if we are faced with challenges and we must learn to overcome those challenges. Only then can we cultivate experience and learn from our mistakes. With no challenges in life to overcome, we will never know what to improve on and what to change. For example, imagine you were struggling in a difficult math class. At first, the problems felt overwhelming, and you might have even failed a few tests, but instead of giving up, you met with the teacher, practiced every day, and improved what you previously got wrong. Eventually, the concept starts to make sense, but not because you didn't struggle at first, but because you did and you grew with that. With, with that struggle.
Wait. Nice. Okay, so okay, the only thing I have here, just off the first sentence is I think this quote means that the only way we can grow is if we are faced with challenges and we must learn to overcome those challenges. Reason I don't quite like that this must here is it's almost like saying the only way we can grow is if we are faced with challenges and then you're sort of making a separate statement. We must learn to overcome these challenges. Instead of saying the only way we can grow is if we are faced with challenges and we learn to overcome those challenges, right? The must is almost making a separate point. So I would actually get rid of that. Um, Only then can we cultivate experience and learn from our mistakes. Cultivate experience. I like that. We will never know what to improve on and what to change. For example, imagine you're struggling in a difficult math class. First, the problems. At first, the problems forming my unit. Imagine you were struggling. Okay, yes. But instead of giving up, you met with a teacher, practice every day, and um, improved. I would say add the words on, makes it flow a bit better, improved on what you previously got wrong. Eventually the concept starts to make sense, but not because you didn't struggle at first, but because you did and grew with that struggle. Cool, cool. I like that. Yeah, quite interesting. Interesting response there, Russell. Um, okay. Let's move on to Ethan. Ethan, would you like to read yours?
I think this quote is stating that we need more excitement in our lives. I personally agree with this quote because I don't want a life that is the same forever. I want a life with excitement. A real world example is if I had the same routine daily with no unexpected situation, I would be bored to death. But if there was something exciting, then my day would be more interesting.
Okay, nice. So you should actually put a comma right here. There's an if statement right there. If there were something exciting, then my day would be more interesting. Real world example is if I had the same daily routine with no, also you could do the same here. Um, and then the but is a separate clause or sorry, independent sentence altogether. Personally agree with this goal because I don't want a life that's safe forever. I want a life with excitement. Yeah, we could leave that like that. Okay, good stuff, Ethan. So actually, it's kind of interesting. You guys are all you took it as a um you took it to mean you need excitement. Whereas Russell took it to mean you need challenges, which in turn could be exciting too. Um, okay, we got Annabelle and Austin, two of the people who start with the letter A. Okay, I don't know why the copy paste is coming out like that. Okay, there we go. Annabelle, start us off. Well, not start us off, keep us going.
In this quote, Ray Bradbury is saying that people shouldn't keep on trying to avoid discomfort. He believes that being bothered is important because it forces people to confront real issues and think about the world. around them. However, people stuff themselves with entertainment so they never have to face anything challenging. Ray Bradbury's question, how long it has been since someone felt really bothered, emphasizes how emotionally indifferent people have become.
Awesome. I really like that, emphasizing how emotionally indifferent people have become. And I also like the offsetting with the dashes here. Russell?
Like, I don't know how to make those like long dashes.
Um,
Like, how do you make those long
it
dashes?
depends on what operating system you're using. But there's like a different command for it. Like if you're using Windows or Apple, or I think even the if you're using like an iPad, I think they have a different command too. So you're gonna have to like look up just like Google or whatever search engine you're using how to make the long dashes.
Okay. Wait, what are they called?
This one is the M dash.
M dash.
Actually, I'm gonna double check that. I could be wrong with the length. Um, but I'll double check that before you go off and write your next activity. Okay, so in this quote, Ray Ray is saying she can. Okay, so this what threw me off here. Shouldn't keep on trying to avoid discomfort. We need not. We need to be bothered. We need to really be bothered. How long is the day you're really bothered? So I would say that it's not necessary to say we shouldn't keep on trying to avoid discomfort. Rather, I think it's more concise and equally as effective to say we shouldn't try. Mm, we shouldn't always try to avoid discomfort, or maybe even just say we shouldn't try to avoid discomfort. Um, you know, maybe put all discomfort, or we shouldn't try to avoid discomfort at all times. Um, Keep on trying sounds a little bit awkward. It also implies that Ray Bradbury was saying everybody is currently always or has been for a long period of time trying to avoid discomfort, which may be true, but it wasn't really explicitly said or said like that um in the in his quote, right? So I would say, you know, I would rather you write it like this. Shouldn't try to avoid discomfort. Maybe we'll just add at all times. That's optional. Believes that being bothered is important because it forces people to confront real issues and think about the world around them. People stuff themselves with entertainment, so they never have to face anything challenging. Um, awesome. I really like this expression here. Emphasizes how emotionally indifferent people have become. Awesome. Okay. With that being said, awesome. I was just saying awesome, now awesome. Would you like to read your response?
This quote means that people sometimes need space and quiet, but also says that being bothered or upset can wake us up and help us think about what really matters. It seems to indicate that avoiding problems isn't always good. However, someone might mistakenly think it means we should look for trouble on purpose. For example, a student who always ignores difficult homework might finally get a low grade that bothers them enough to realize they need to take their work more seriously.
Awesome. Okay, so this means that sometimes need the sometimes need space and quiet. But it also says that being bothered, but it also says that being bothered or upset can wake us up and help us think about what really matters. It seems to indicate that avoiding problems is not always good. However, someone might mistakenly think it means you should look for trouble. Read that bothers. Awesome. Awesome. So my one concern is here you say indicate that avoiding problems isn't always good. However, someone might mistakenly think it means we should look for trouble on purpose. Then you say, for example, right after, which doesn't include the example of what you're talking about in the sentence right before. Yes, it includes avoiding problems isn't always good, but it doesn't make any reference to this. So I would maybe include another scenario here to fulfill this clause, or choose a different example, or break this up, put the example right next to uh, this statement right here, and then put the however someone might mistakenly think we should look for trouble on purpose after both. Just the location of it is a little bit misleading. This intro is sort of saying this quote means, what it also changes to, says that people sometimes need space and quiet. We need not be left alone. We need to be bothered. So I don't know if it really says we need space and quiet. So I'm just gonna go that people sometimes, I'm gonna get I'm gonna get rid of all of this and say that being bothered or upset can wake us up and help us think about what really matters. Yeah. Because actually, I think you might have misread this. This says we need not be let alone, so it means we don't need space and quiet. So I think that was a little bit misleading there. Uh, okay. Good responses, guys. I will say that the quality of responses here have been a bit better today. I think because you guys see Dr. Joe Academy in the participants list, so everyone's on their A game, which is good. It's good. Okay, let's get into uh our next literary device on the list, juxtaposition. Actually, before we get into it, who knows what juxtaposition is? Who has heard of it before? Russell?
I I I've definitely heard of it. I think it means like uh I think it's like putting two different things together to like compare them or something.
Yeah. Yeah, around you're basically right. Annabelle has a good example in the chat. She says two things that are put together even though they're different, like huge shrimp. So there's a little bit of a juxtaposition there, right? Huge is describes something very large. Shrimp is also sometimes used to describe something very small. So there's a little bit of a juxtaposition there. Yeah, good example, Annabelle. All right, let's get into it. So very simple. Can we get Austin? Austin, can you read this?
Juxtaposition. What is juxtaposition? Juxtaposition is a literary technique where a writer places two contrasting elements side by side to highlight differences, deepen meaning, or create a striking effect. These elements can be characters, settings, ideas, images, emotions, or objects. Contrast plus proximity equals to new meaning.
Awesome. Okay. Um, Actually, before we go into the why would anyone use juxtaposition? Uh, I need at least three responses from people. So let's put your hands up. We can just say it out loud. Why would someone use juxtaposition? Give me some examples.
To like highlight the differences of the two different things.
Sure, it could be used to highlight differences. Yeah.
Maybe
E- Pardon?
sarcasm, maybe.
Sarcasm. Yeah. Could be used to make a sentence or saying or phrase more entertaining as well, right? Sarcasm. Anyone else?
Humor?
Humor, yeah, humor. That will fit. Yep. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, so those are some examples. Let's get James. James, can you read this?
Why writers use juxtaposition.
Juxtaposition.
Reveal differences, create irony, strengthen themes, add humor, make imagery vivid, build emotional complexity. Contrast makes traits clear. Opposites side by side feel unexpected. Light, dark, rich, poor, innocence, corruption. Extreme contrast can be funny. Opposing images pop more. Mixed feelings create depth.
Nice. Okay. So, I guess we talked about humor, irony, sarcasm and irony about the same. Build emotions and complexity. This is a little bit harder uh to see, but yeah. Okay, any questions on this? Nope. Okay, let's go to the next one. So types. Um, can I get a volunteer reader? Let's get Annabelle. Annabelle, can you read this?
Type. Character just juxtaposition. Opposing personalities highlight each other. Setting juxtaposition. Two contrasting locations placed side by side. Idea juxtaposition. Conflicting concepts shown together. Imagery juxtaposition. Opposing images for visual impact. Emotional juxtaposition. Mixed emotions shown simultaneously.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, when someone's like, I'm so happy I'm mad, right? At a situation, or I'm so sad I'm actually feeling whatever, giddy. Um, so yeah, there's that. Character juxtaposition, this is when uh in TV or movies where maybe or a very, very prominent example in TV shows is good cop, bad cop, right? There's a little bit of a juxtaposition there. Um Yeah, okay. So some famous literary examples, right? These are actual like lines in the books, um not just characters or anything. Um okay, let's go with Russell. Russell, can you read this?
Example 1, Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. This pairs opposites to show a world of full extremes. Example 2, Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. The love between Romeo and Juliet is constantly juxtaposed with the hatred between their families. Example 3, Robert Frost. In Fire and Ice, Frost juxtaposes two destructive forces, fire, desire, and ice, hatred, to explore human emotion. Example 4, Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird. Innocence, Scout, is juxtaposed with racism and cruelty, The Town, to heighten the theme of lost innocence. Example 5, George Orwell, 1984. The party's slogans are juxtaposed contradictions. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength.
Awesome. You missed the last line there. It says the contrast exposes manipulation of truth, right? This is, you see this actually used everywhere all the time nowadays, right? Um, something like especially when someone's trying to, uh, control a situation or something like that, they'll be like, oh, safety is actually unsafe, right? Like, or privacy is actually unsafe or something like that. And those types of things, they're juxtaposed, and they can be they can be used strategically to muddy a definition or something you already know, right? If someone says something like war is peace, you know war is the opposite of peace. But if someone says war is peace, now it has you wondering or second guessing your whole, ideology and things like that. So it can be used to, it's a powerful tool in that sense. Okay, so the activity, write a scenario in which there are three examples of juxtaposition, right? So you can use any type of juxtaposition in this case, right? You can write about two characters who are juxtaposed. That's one um, example, and then they say things with juxtaposition or whatnot. You can describe a scenario with multiple examples of juxtaposition. It's up to you how you do it. Maybe three is a bit much. Maybe we'll stick to two if we want to do. Actually, we'll do three. We'll just add 1 minute to it. Okay? Then that's fair. Okay. Starting the timer now. All right. Time is up. Leave you guys about 20 extra seconds. So let's see those responses. Even if you're not done, it's okay. Okay, let's start with Ethan. Okay, Ethan, would you like to read yours?
From the first one, I accidentally meant to type Bob's, like with the S.
Oh, nice.
Bob's love-hate feeling towards George has left George shocked and relieved that they could still be friends after all those arguments. When the math teacher, Mr. Jones, hears about this, he is happy and disappointed. He is happy that they made up and they're friends again, but he's disappointed because he loved to watch the drama.
Ha. Okay, nice. I can see the example. So Bob's love-hate feeling towards George has George shocked and relieved. So, I mean, the scenario doesn't quite make sense here, right? Like, if it's a feeling, like, was it unveiled to George recently? Is that why he's shocked all of a sudden and relieved? Um, so certain things need to make more sense in this scenario, but well, that's okay. Um, so shocked and relieved that also they're not shocked and relieved. I don't know if they're necessarily, opposed to each other. You can be shocked and relieved, right? Like if you were really stressed about money, like you were didn't have any money in something and in your bank account, and then all of a sudden, and you have a trip coming up, you need money for it. All of a sudden, you win the lottery. You're gonna be or yeah, you win the lottery or you win some money, you're going to be relieved. You don't have that stress anymore, but you're also going to be shocked. And I don't think that's necessarily juxtaposition. They're just two separate things here, if that's what you were going for. Math teacher, Mr. Joe, when the math teacher, Mr. Joe, hears about this, so is he hearing about this often? Because then it makes sense. If he heard about it, then it doesn't make sense. So I'm just gonna highlight this. The tense needs to be clear. About this, he is happy and disappointed. He is happy. When the math teacher hears about this, he's happy and disappointed. Happy that he made it. Okay, and then this would be another sentence altogether, right? Um, he's happy that they made up and are friends again, but he's uh disappointed because he loved to watch the drama. But he is disappointed because he loved to watch the drama. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that one makes sense. Good stuff. Good stuff. Ethan, yeah. So I know these are just example scenarios, but we do want to try and make it make sense. So I know that you are also understanding the concept that we're talking about, right? Um, okay. Also, what is with everyone in Bob and George? There are so many cool names you could be picking from. Okay.
Classic.
It is a classic. That is true. Okay, Russell.
I started it. Before their story began, the world of New China had already fallen, a dystopia where technology thrived but humanity withered. George, a reluctant and quick-witted survivor, had spent years navigating the city's broken systems, while Bob, a retired engineer, used his forbidden knowledge to sabotage the Google Geminis from the shadows. In this bleak landscape, light and shadow clashed across the skyline. Solar lamps were struggling against the manufactured smog, and the people lived caught between were caught between hope and despair, mourning what was lost yet desperate for change. It was here that George and Bob stepped forward and started the rebellion.
See that George and Bob stepped forward and started the rebellion. Awesome. Before the dystopia where technology thrived, but humanity withered. Okay. So there is like they're not necessarily next to each other, but there is like contrast there, yeah. Um, a reluctant, quick-witted survivor had great retired engineer, bleak landscape. So I guess Bob and George are a little bit juxtaposed here. Is bleak light and shadow. There's light and shadow. That's juxtaposition. Great. Solar lamps were struggling against the manufacturer's smog. People lived caught between hope and despair. Yep. Mourning what? Yeah. Juxtaposition in terms like they're usually actually next to each other, like the words. They don't, it doesn't have to be, right? But usually in a situation like this. Actually, this one is fine. Mourning what was lost yet desperate for change. Okay, good stuff. Actually, Russell, could you point out the three examples of just a juxtaposition here?
Technology thrived and humanity withered.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Reluctant and quick-witted.
Reluctant and quick-witted. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Uh, light and shadow, hope
Yeah.
and despair, and
Okay.
then what was lost, and then desperate for change.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Um, all right. Let's keep going. Do we have any other examples? Anyone else? No? What? Only two people? Okay, maybe that was a big ask. Three examples? Okay. Well, then let's move forward. Um, let's go to our article of the day. By the way, guys, I get these articles from the New York Times. So if anyone is interested in going and finding them and reading further, there are usually links on these if you want to read further, and keep that in mind. But yeah, these are, generally real articles, contemporary articles that are actually published, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, so this is a guest essay on the New York Times. Do audiobooks count as reading? And actually, before we go into it, um, put a 1 in the chat if you think audiobooks count as reading, and put a 2 if you think it does not count. Let's just get a poll. Actually, is there a poll function in Zoom? No. Okay, yeah, let's just get a poll going. Put a 1 in the chat if you think that it does count, and put a 2 if you think it does not count as reading. Okay, we have 3 1s and 1 2. Anybody else? Who are we missing?
No, you actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have like 22s.
No, all those 2s
Yes.
count as 1. I'm so sorry.
21 now, 22 now, 23 now.
Okay, okay, we get it. We get it. So we're missing James. James, hopefully you're still there. Let's keep going. Let's get started on the reading. James, can you start us off?
As a librarian, I get a lot of questions. One I am hearing more often is, do audiobooks qualify as reading? Many people don't think so. There's a pride, even a snobbishness to being well read. Telling someone that you will have only listened to a certain book usually comes out sounding like an apology. A recent NPR Ipsos poll found that 41% of adults don't believe audiobooks qualify as reading. One friend of mine who argues with his husband over this once memorably told me that listening to a book felt like seeing a musical in New Jersey instead of on a Broadway stage, close but not the real thing. I used to feel the same way myself. A few years ago, sitting in an airport bar, I noticed a man next to me scrolling through his phone as a robotic voice read every word out loud at a high speed. At high speed. At first, I thought it was gibberish. Then I realized he was blind, using a feature on his iPhone that read aloud the text on his screen. Watching him absorbed in the words, taking in their meaning, it struck me that he was reading the same way I did with my eyes. Because I have dyslexia, reading has never come easy. After that chance encounter, I tried a similar accessibility feature on my own phone. It was a revelation. For the first time, I could keep up effortlessly, absorb ideas, and focus in a way I haven't before.
Awesome. Okay. Um, so yeah, I'm sure you guys have actually, I don't know if in your generation this is a thing. Um, do you guys generally d- who here listens to audiobooks? Put your hand up if you listen to audiobooks. Okay, just one? Okay, just one person listens to audiobooks. Okay, interesting. But Russell said audiobooks count as reading and he does not listen to audiobooks. So that's interesting. Uh,
Wait, hold up. Two was for it does count.
two is for sorry, two is for it doesn't count. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't do audiobooks.
Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry. Then everyone else, Ethan and Annabelle, who said it does count, do not listen to audiobooks. So that's interesting. Okay. All right. Let's get Annabelle. Can you read this one?
My experience isn't unusual. Our definitions of reading haven't kept up with how people actually read today. Reading builds empathy, focus, and critical thinking, but we seem to enjoy reading less and less. A recent study by researchers at University College London and University of Florida, published in iScience, found a drop of more than 40% in daily reading for pleasure in the United States over the past 2 decades. At the same time, listening to books is on the rise, a trend libraries and publishers are seeing firsthand. Audiobook sales reached about $2.2 billion in the United States past year. At the New York Public Library, audio circulation rose 65% in the past 5 years, while circulation for print and ebooks stayed flat, a pattern mirrored nationwide. Audio has overtaken ebooks in driving growth. So maybe even as the traditional way of reading books is in decline, the destigmatizing of audiobooks offers a path towards a more nuanced way of thinking about literacy.
Destigmatizing of audiobooks offers a path towards a more nuanced way of thinking about literacy. Awesome. Um, destigmatizing. Who here knows what destigmatizing means? Let's get did someone say something in the chat? Russell.
So according to the context,
Mm-hmm.
I think mm, like I don't know, like being respectful of audiobooks or like not being
No, I like that one. Respecting audiobooks. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? So stigma is where there is a negative view on something, right? So there is a stigma against trying to think of something common, you know. Hmm. There is a stigma against a lot of things. I'm trying to think of an example. Well, anything that's viewed bad, poorly, right? Anything that is viewed bad. There's a stigma against cheaters, people who cheat in games. That is rightfully so, right? It is it is viewed negatively for a reason. There is now sometimes there is a stigma against like certain foods and things like that, where there's a stigma against MSG. That's a big one, right? MSG is added in a lot of Asian cuisines, and in the Western world, there was a big push against MSG, and so there was a stigma against it, right? Oh, it causes this, it's really bad for you, etc. But no one can really explain why. So I think more recently, but there's still work to be done, but it's been more and more destigmatized. If you poll people now, less people think that there are, you know, that MSG is bad for you. There are less people. There's still people out there, but there are much less than there was in, like, let's say the 90s. So right now, audiobooks may have a little bit of a stigma. A lot of people don't view them as reading books, but this this essay is arguing that, if we destigmatize it a bit, there might be more people reading and learning new things. So let's get Austin. Austin, can you read this one?
Part of the confusion comes from how we tend to think reading works. Learning to read with the eyes starts with decoding, linking letters to sounds and meaning. But once those pathways are built, the brain draws on the same language network to make sense of words. Whether they arrive through sight or sound, a 2019 study in the Journal of Neuroscience by researchers from the University of California, Berkeley, found that the brains of people reading or listening to the same stories processed meaning in almost the same way. Focused listening lights up those networks just as print does. Casual or distracted listening, like playing an audiobook while doing chores, doesn't appear to engage those networks fully. But attentive listening can deliver the same comprehension as print reading. And for some, especially those with reading disabilities, attentive listening can improve comprehension and help them stay with the story. In plenty of classrooms, students still track their progress in reading logs. They have note pages read, but not listening time. Sending the message that only print counts, we should give students credit for listening to books too.
Awesome. Um, okay. This was quite interesting. People reading and listening to the same stories process the meaning in almost the same way. So if it comes down to the meaning, then there's a study that says there's arguably no difference, right? Um, okay, and this is also cool. Casual, distracted listening. A lot of times people choose audiobooks because they are able to do something else, right? Fold their clothes, do laundry, exercise. And this study apparently found that it doesn't um uh oh, that does. Sorry. That when you're doing those things and playing an audiobook, it doesn't um trigger those neural networks in your brain as much. So you do lose some benefits um when you are doing distracted audiobook, but when you're doing focused audiobooks, it's the same. Okay. Can I get who hasn't read it? Let's get Russell. Russell, can you read this one?
Youngsters who read daily for enjoyment tend to develop stronger skills and score higher in school. On average, roughly the equivalent of a year and a half ahead, according to Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development data on student performance in member countries. Some research suggests they're also more likely to keep reading for pleasure later in life. According to last year's survey by the National Literacy Trust of Britain, younger people who grew up with audiobooks and podcasts were already reporting a preference for listening over traditional text-only reading. And pairing print and audio has been shown to better improve comprehension for some struggling readers, especially when decoding written text is a barrier. I know it firsthand. I didn't always see myself as a reader. The chance encounter at the airport changed that. One of the first books I read for pleasure using a similar text-to-speech technology was Walter Isaacson's biography of Benjamin Franklin. I had used that method of listening and following along only for work reading, and certainly never for a book that long. But I opened it on the Kindle app on my iPhone, turned on the text-to-speech feature, and somewhere in the middle of Franklin's life in Philadelphia, I realized I was deep in the book. It was a new feeling, one I never imagined I would have, and I wanted more.
Nice. Awesome. So yeah, there's text to speech features, and people have been using those, and um, it opens up opportunities to sort of consume books and writing that you would have not otherwise consumed. Okay, and last but not least, let's get Austin. Austin, can you read this one?
I now read in a way that works for me. Sometimes I listen, but most of the time I read by hearing the words while following the text on my iPhone or iPad. The text grows while synthetic voice reads aloud, keeping my focus anchored and my pace steady. It's how I read everything: emails, reports, articles, and books. I read more now than I ever have. Last week alone, I moved among a few books. I listened to Turning to Birds, The Power and Beauty of Noticing, read by its author, Lily Taylor, and I read Town and Country, a novel by Brian Schaefer, and The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Both as I heard a synthetic voice while following the text. I wasn't thinking about the format. I was simply reading. Tens of millions of people now read the way I do, using tools that let them listen as they follow the text. A shift scientists describe as bimodal reading. Platforms are redesigning reading around text plus audio without ever naming it as such. A growing share of young people now use captions or subtitles when streaming TV shows or movies. Even companies once defined by print, like the New York Times and other major publishers, now offer articles read aloud by synthetic voices, allowing readers to follow along, merging eyes and ears in real time. However, we read by eye, by ear, or both, it all counts. What matters is that the words get in. The brain makes meaning and the identity of being a reader takes hold. We need more readers. However, they get there.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for reading that. Um, we sort of already talked about this generally. Ethan, you said you're the only one who listens to audiobooks. How do you feel? Does it compare to print reading?
I'd say I like I prefer listening to an audiobook more. It's like better, like in my opinion. It's more like simple.
Okay.
Like
Interesting.
I do that like before I sleep for like 5 minutes and just like indulge my brain with like words instead of having to like open a light, open, like turn on everything, and then just like read for 5 minutes and I'm gonna close my book again.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So the main question here. Do you think audiobooks count as reading? Why or why not? We'll do 5 minutes, and that should take us to the end. Okay? So pick a strong stance. I don't want you to do 50-50. Even if you are personally 50-50. I want you to write it persuasively, right? Persuasive paragraph writing, what we've been doing for the past little while. So 5 minutes starting now. Russell says, I feel a debate coming. I think so too. All right. Let's see what we came up with. So we have Ethan start us off.
I think that audiobooks count as reading, mainly because you are indulging your brain with the same information if you had read it, so there would be no difference.
Awesome. So I think mainly because you are in. So this alone is not actually a full sentence, right? So what we could do is combine these. I think that audiobooks, I think also we can even just get rid of that. I think audiobooks count as reading because you are indulging your brain with the um, same information had with the same information had you read it. If you had read it, yeah, that's fine. So there would be no difference. Okay. Okay, that's fair. Um, Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, very clean. All right, Annabelle, would you like to read yours?
Audiobooks should count as reading because they let people enjoy stories even when they're too busy to take out a book. They help listeners understand everything just like regular text. Audiobooks also make reading more accessible for people with disabilities or reading difficulties like blindness. Overall, they still create the same story just using sound instead of looks.
Okay, interesting. Overall they still I would say instead of create the same story, um let's say convey the same information. The reason I say that is because obviously books are not always stories, and in the article they mention New York Times and other famous news outlets um, are publishing their news articles in written, of course, and audiobook form, right? So it's cool. They just use sound instead of, I would say, I don't want to say looks. Looks. I know you're trying to make books sound very basic and just say, it's just a matter of two different senses that you're using. Um, but I still think you should say like letters or something. So I guess it's a literary choice, so I'm gonna leave it, but anyways. Just like regular text. Okay, good. Interesting takes here. And this is a very strong point, right? But although this is a strong point to say that audiobooks are great, but actually it doesn't really support your thesis, right? Your thesis says they should count. Actually, that's fine. The question was more so, do you think they count as reading? You're saying they should count because they are more accessible. I'm not too sure that is it necessarily explains why they should count, but um, anyways, let's look at Russell's. Russell, would you like to read yours?
Audiobooks may be convenient, but they don't count as reading. Reading demands active focus, decoding text, and building real comprehension. M dash. Work the brain has to do itself. Audiobooks hand you tone, pacing, and emotion, making the experience far more passive, more like being told a story than truly engaging with one. Because visual reading requires the brain to convert written symbols into meaning, it activates more complex cognitive pathways than simply listening to spoken words. Both have value, but only reading delivers the mental effort that defines real reading.
Wow. The value, but only reading delivers the mental effort that defines real reading. Very interesting. Very strong points there, Russell. I really like your response. That I, yeah, I sort of agree that there are a lot more that you have to do yourself when you're reading, that your brain is activating, that you don't have to do when you're doing an audiobook. And it's sort of a skill in and of itself. And does anyone have anything to say to Russell's take? No? Okay. That is all for today, guys. I will see you all next week. Have a good one. The homework question is on screen. Okay. I will see you all next week. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.
For the meditation thing, I got 2 minutes and 11 seconds.
Nice. Cool. Cool. Goodbye.
And then I started thinking about why I was doing this.
Well, that's the key. You're not supposed to think about that.